Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, welcome everybody. We had done something on education. I'll just give the synopsis so that we can see what especially the Taittiriya Upanishad speaks about Vidya. Right? We discussed about six reasons why education has become extremely challenging, not adventurous, but extremely challenging. It is not that there is a tapasya, but it is gruesome. You can't call something gruesome as tapasya. Tapasya basically gives power, but this is not tapasya, it's a gruesome. It's an enslavement. Right, we have discussed there are 6 reasons: expensive tuition fee, just not prepared academically, unhappy with the college, discouraging environment, picking the wrong course, and academic inadequacy. We had also discussed about Plato saying wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. These are the 4 things, for people to grow in life. Now, when you come to our Upanishads, one of the greatest wrong understanding about Upanishad is basically drives everybody to give up life, drives everybody towards Vairagya. Even some of the Indian elite, you must have heard the name Sri Aurobindo. His father had told him, don't study Indian literature. He sent him to UK even before he came in touch with anything India. Because he said he'll become, if you're a good guy, you'll renounce. Because that is what the Vedic scriptures speak, and especially Upanishad. So today is basically, because Mother Saraswati, Puja, Saraswati Puja day, and she is synonymous to Vidya, education. Right. So when we go to the Vedic education, what does it say? Upanishad, the Taittiriya Upanishad has a part which is called as Shiksha Valli. There is one chapter or one Valli. Valli is a creeper. So this talks about Shiksha Valli education. One of the most profound concept has been presented. Right. What to speak of knowing Shiksha Valli? The professors who are teaching or the students who are learning in the regular education, they are made to go far away from what is truth, what is real, what is fact, and only focus on what they feel. I feel I don't want to do this. I feel I don't like to do this. It's all driven by sentiments. And the greatest tragedy, right, where even a deep person, a deaf person can understand the stark distinction between a man and a woman. It's a factual reality, but now that factual reality is turned into feeling reality. Biologically, there are only 2 genders, generally, right? There are some places where there are 3rd gender, neutral gender, eunuch, or in our we see the Ijda community. It's not a bad word, right? But now in the Western world, I heard there are more than, some say 27, some say 70, right? I feel that I am this gender. And if you question that, that will be considered as offense. And now they are taking it to the legal reality also. So imagine what is very clear, confused about it, and what is basically ignorance, make that as a reality because I feel like that. So the modern education, which was supposed to be very scientific, it is going towards feeling. Hmm? And what was factual, the traditional education has become a fictional reality. That's a tragedy. So let us have some glimpse about what the uh, the our Taittiriya Upanishad explains. Other day we were sitting, and one mother told, she said, one child came home and told her mother, Mama, why the teacher is teaching apple is red? Because I see apple is not red, but it is whitish, whitishly green. The mother
Nigga,
couldn't
fuck your
understand,
ass up, bro. Who the fuck you think you are?
you know. So then the mother basically was shocked. And then the person who heard this, the mother heard, she said, what? Then she realized because the child never
Stop interrupting.
saw, the mother never saw
Shut the
the
fuck up.
Haribol, Priya Chaitanya?
Yeah, we have one set.
Yeah. So the mothers realized that actually the child had never seen the apple, which was
Wait. Arya, what is the link to that video? Please send it on chat.
Priya Chaitanya. I think, yeah. So the mother had never shown the apple to the child, which was red from color, already peeling it, giving it. So the child's understanding of apple was very, obscure. The teacher was teaching apple is red, and the child was experiencing apple was not red. Right. So therefore it is important that life has to be centered around factual reality, and the factual reality has to be experienced by everybody, including the adult and the children. So our hello, Priya Chaitanya. Haribol, Priya Chaitanya.
We have removed him. He's come with the other name. Just one.
Don't take any more, unless they are. Don't take anybody now.
Yes, please start.
Yeah. So therefore, in the Taittiriya Upanishad, it's a very beautiful what it says, that Namo Brahmane Namaste Vayu, one of the invocation verse, what we read in the Taittiriya Upanishad, Namo Brahmane Namaste Vayu. How does education begins from? Education begins by actually offering our respect to knowledge itself. No, Namaste Brahmani. Brahmani means actually Vedas. Namaste Vayu. Namaste Vayu means, what is Vayu does? Vayu basically helps you to get the alphabet. Akshara. Akshara is generated because of Vayu. And unless you begin with that, then learning doesn't happen. Therefore, the Taittiriya Upanishad, what does it do? It basically first gives the experience for the child, the vibration. aham brahmasmi, indirectly the child is experiencing. Very interesting point. Right. And then it is explained that instantly the child is connected to factual reality through anubhava, through experience. The words are considered as truth in the form of the word, and truth in the form of the word is called as rita. Right? Truth in the form of the word is called as rita, and practicing that rita which is in the form of word is called as satya. So that is the beginning of Taittiriya Upanishad. And when you do that, what does it do? Then you start learning. What do you learn? You learn Varnaswara. You learn Varnaswara, Matra Balam, and Sama Santanaha. Very interesting again that when you learn Sanskrit, when you learn your own mother tongue, the Indian language, there is Raswa and Dhirga. Many places, as we were discussing last time, the concept of Raswa and Dhirga has been completely eliminated. Right? Even in the Western world, they called that in the beginning there was a word, and word was God. Vedo se uta hoga. Because here the Taittiriya Upanishad explains when the child becomes sensitive to pronouncing the word Raswa, Dhirga, and then the compound words, all those things, from that experience the truth starts revealing to them. अगर लैंग्वेज को ही अबॉर्ट कर दिया तो जीवन अबॉर्ट हो जाएगा. Right? Then the Taittiriya Upanishad explains there has to be strength, matra balam. Right? अगर आपके उच्चारण में प्राण नहीं हो, if there is no prana in your expression, then you will not have a realization. This is one of the first verses of the Shikshavali. Very important principle. Then the teacher, the guru, the shikshaka, what does he do? When he begins the education, he invokes the blessing of Lakshmi Devi, the goddess of fortune. Right? When the goddess of fortune is involved, what does the teacher ask for? This is where people fail. That, when you study the Vedic literature, you run away from life. Right? In fact, some people say, studying means not giving importance to any other aspect of life other than only Atma Vidya. Now, if you read, this is Taittiriya Upanishad, it explains, I'm reading the translation. The teacher is explaining, now yashaha sahanau brahma varchasam. He says, maybe both gain fame together. Maybe gain fame together. Maybe both attain eminence on account of the study of the Veda. Veda means wisdom, knowledge, with awareness, alertness. We shall now explain the secret teachings related to juxtaposition in the 5 sections, such as the worlds. What do you study? The 5 things. The world, the luminaries means different planetary positions, knowledge, progeny, and the body. Now this is called as great combination. Right? And in this great combination, remember we said when you're studying proper pronunciation, that pronunciation has a connection to prefix and they are connected to, just a minute. So just like A and O, how do you get the word A and O? Little technical for a few minutes. Now from A plus U, the U is the connecting part to make A into O. Now the Upanishadkar explains there has to be Sandhi and Sandhan. The process of connection and the purpose of connection. And he gives the example, these 5 things what we discussed, discussing the planetary position, discussing the luminaries, that is all the different planets in the world, then procreation, the act of procreation, then act of learning, and the 5th one is basically the sharira itself, the body itself. When we learn these 5 things, this great combination, for doing that, what do you need? You need Sandhi and Sandhan. And he gives the example. What is that? One example is that Earth is the former part. He gives the example. Earth is the former part and the higher planetary positions are the upper part, like the Arani, Yagya. They come like this. Right? So whenever you see 2 sticks kept like this, that an indication of Yagya. Like when you take Sankalpa during any puja, what does the Purohit do? The Purohit keeps your hand like this. Because to make the Sankalpa fulfilled, there has to be Sandhan and Sandhi, the process of connection and the purpose of connection. And then the Acharya explains that Vidyarthi and Guru, the Vidyarthi is former again and Guru is the later. They come together. And what is the purpose of their coming together? The purpose of their coming together is basically learning. The teacher is also learning and the student is also learning. And what is the process of learning? The process is learning is basically Swadhyaya Pravachane. Self-learning, Swadhyaya, and then repeating what you have learned. Right? When you learn and repeat, what does it do? It gives rise to the appearance of wisdom. Usko vidya ki prapti ho jati hai. And what kind of vidya is this? This vidya, as I said, it is not only connected to Sharira. It is not only connected to planets. It is not only connected to Adhyatma Vidya. It is not connected to only progeny. It is not connected to, the process of light, luminaries. What is that? Adi Praja, Adi Vidya, Adi Atma, then Adi Loka. These are the 5 things which are required for human existence to grow nicely. You cannot choose one of the 5. You cannot say, I prefer this against this. No, there is no this against this. Rather, they're all integrated. You need a body. You need a growth for the body. Nowadays people say, I want to marry, but I don't want to have a children. The purpose of marriage, for that matter, very interesting. If you go and study this, the purpose of marriage, the purpose of this sanskar of marriage is to refine the act of procreation. The procreation will happen whether you marry or you don't marry, like live-in relationship, all that stuff is happening. Just because they don't marry doesn't mean that they don't stay together and do not come together. So the Upanishad, since time and immemorial, the purpose of Praja Yagya, the purpose of Vidya Yagya, the purpose of, the Loka Yagya, the purpose of Adi Yagya, right? Everybody has particular purpose, but the Praja Yagya, the purpose of Praja Yagya, Adi Praja Yagya is procreation, and therefore, just like we take Sankalpa, right? We take Aranyud back and forth. the rishis conceived the concept of procreation as yajna. Imagine how deep their understanding was, right? The husband and wife, they come together and there is an act of procreation, and what does it gives rise to? It gives rise to santana vriddhi. No, सृष्टि को कायम रखने के लिए क्या चाहिए? बच्चों का जन्म होना चाहिए. And if it is seen as yajna, and those who are dedicated to the cause of yajna will be born. If it is seen as purely gratification or then frustration, when you are gratifying, you consider children to be burden, right? And when you are wanting to give up your life and focus on spirituality, again your own procreation become burdensome to you. Those who believe in only gratification and those who believe in only giving up everything, they are basically extremely self-centered. While enjoying their self-centered, when they are trying to have an emancipation of their life, they are self-centered. It is about only their own self, my gratification and my mukti. Right? So, but here, when you see the entire thing as it is, what does it do? It gives rise to right understanding. So the Taittiriya Upanishad, whatever we learned up until now, in essence, what does it teaching? It is teaching that if you have a right narratives, आपके कानों में सही प्रकार के शब्द जाते होंगे, right? अक्षरमाला को अगर सही प्रकार से सुन रहे हो, right kind of rasva, dirgha, suffix and prefix, right? Satya and drita, then you don't have to build narratives. Narratives become your foundation based upon Satya. Please understand this. Right? So, इसलिए Vedic knowledge is to make you aware. And the modern education is to make you enslaved. When they talk about freedom, they do not talk about freedom, but they talk about bondage, which is born out of recklessness, but sold in the market as freedom. Right? It's a great tragedy, greater tragedy than the terrorism itself. You can handle terrorism, it's no big deal. With the political will, it happens. We can overcome that. But this one, the destruction of human consciousness to such an extent, then in the first standard school, when they're supposed to teach Varna Mala, they're teaching Varna, the discrimination, the race distinction. See, there is a huge difference between liberals and communists. The liberals want the so-called social liberal, they are supposed to create no distinction between black and white. They are not supposed to create distinction between Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. They are not supposed to create, segregation. They are supposed to bring everybody together. That is the purpose of the liberal values. And what is the value of communist? Very interesting. The value of communist is to divide people. Divide them. Kriya Chaitanya, so divide them. How do they divide them? By creating a segregation. By promoting segregation to such an extent is that from very first standard, because you behave a little differently, you feel a little differently, you think a little differently, then basically create a different group to them, give them a different name. That's a very sad part. So in American schools, they are teaching gender neutrality from kindergarten. So this is what? This is building a narratives rather than giving them the experience of truth. And I've seen it. I have seen personally in the Gurukul kind of education, alternative education, the educationalists give focus on phonetics. Right. When you give focus on phonetics, which for that matter the Sanskrit word, how consciously you chant, how rhythmically you chant, how ragic you chant, what does that do? It gives rise to complete coherency of your brain, your communication, your heart, and your senses. There is a bhava, there is raga, and there is a tala. When the bhava, raga, tala are integrated, it is but natural that you will not see the distinction between the factual reality and feeling reality, because the feeling will be connected to the factual reality because they're experiencing that. When they experience by pronunciation only, that is what the Upanishads are saying. And that very Upanishad, when there is a prana in your pronunciation, what does it do? It gives rise to confidence to ask right kind of benediction. And what kind of right benediction the teacher and the students are asking? The teacher and students are asking, as a growing people, a growing person needs. What does he need? What does he or she needs? Both of them, they require satisfaction of growth. Right? And we see that whether somebody is an ordinary person or somebody is a renunciate, in the world of social media, everybody wants to come and jump in there and see whether their followers are increasing or not. You cannot say, oh, I am doing it for Krishna. Whether you're doing it for Krishna or you're doing it for something else, that the need to be there in the public space has been conceived, accepted by the Vedas, accepted by the Upanishad. You don't have to give an excuse. It is there. But the Vedas are teaching how to do it. How to do it? Doing will happen. You can't avoid doing it. That is going to happen. But how to do it? That has to happen based upon Satya, Rita, and Dharma. When they are not connected to Satya, Rita, and Dharma, and you deny it in the name of it is not important for me, I am not so interested in that. No, it will happen some other way. And somebody wants to do it faster, quicker, right? Giving Satya, Dharma, and Rita, just focusing on the popularity, what is happening in the world. I should speak the same language what everybody else speaks, so that nobody becomes, I don't resist against anything. Speak their language only, whether it is truth, whether it is dharmic, whether it is Rita, doesn't matter. No, here simply the pronunciation has the power to bring you to the proper sandhi and sandhan. And then the teacher explains to the student what is the process of learning. It's very interesting. The process of learning is, it says, just a minute. Yes, now this is one of the fantastic verse, long verse. He says, Ritam cha swadhyaya cha pravachane cha. Now, if you're studying about Rita, what do? You learn and you teach. Swadhyaya pravachane. Satyam cha swadhyaya pravachane cha. Now you're learning. What is that? Satya. Learn and teach. Tapascha swadhyaya pravachane cha. Damascha swadhyaya pravachane cha. शमश्च स्वाध्याय प्रवचने च अग्नेश्च स्वाध्याय प्रवचने च अग्निहोत्रम च स्वाध्याय प्रवचने च अतिथयश्च स्वाध्याय प्रवचने च. So whatever you are learning, fortunately, if you want to make your learning very strong, what is it? It is not talking about competition, but it is talking about cooperation. It's a circular logic. The student and teacher are not sitting like what you see in this big auditorium, right? Where it is going like this, convenient centric, right? The students who are sitting very closer, they are in the lower level, and the students who are in the back, they are on the higher level, so that everybody can see the teacher. How in the world, I was talking to one student studying engineering, the student was telling that their teacher every day interacts with 2000 students, right? And most of the time, 98% of the time, the teacher does not know the student. And certainly the student is not interacting with the teacher. So the end of the day, you get your certificate, you get your degree, but not psychology of that subject deeply as much as you are supposed to know. Right? There is no connection between Vidyarthi and Shikshak. So therefore, again, this is such a brilliant, such a practical reality, what the Upanishad is saying, that when you are learning, it is a, people are sitting in circle. Even the talk, even the structure is explained. When you sit in a circle and the circle is continuously moving. And how does it move? It moves because the teacher teaches, students learn, then he teaches the next student teaches the next student, next student teaches the next student. There is a kalakshepa. And because of that kalakshepa, when there is swadhyaya pravachanena, swadhyaya and pravachanena, the learning and discovery, the learning and discovery, the learning and discovery is continuously happening all the time. And therefore, if you go and see many times, the traditional teachers, whether they're teaching music, whether they're touching flute, whether they're taking your exercise before starting the Kalaripaitu or Ballakamba, there is a mandal akriti. For your information, Carl Jung, one of the famous psychiatrists and a philosopher, for understanding people, right? Understanding people, he talked about three kinds of personalities. There is a conscious self, there is unconscious self, and there is a self which is connected because of unconscious self caused by society. A societal influence is there, our own vasana is there, and our conscious mind is also there. Right? For us, unconscious mind, we can call it as a vasana. Right? All our karmas which are not still sprouted, they fall into that category. And for us, the society is nothing but loka sangraha, spoken positively by Krishna. And then there is a conscious mind. What is conscious mind? Conscious mind is basically, my passion which is visible. If I'm a musician, it's visible. If I'm an artist, it is visible. I'm a philosopher, it is visible. I'm a doctor, it is visible. I'm an engineer, it is visible. Not because I have a degree, because I have a passion for it. Right. So therefore, here the Taittiriya Upanishad explains and brings the student in a very, very factual reality. Therefore, how can somebody say, Upanishads are very abstract? They are abstract not because, they are idealistic. They're abstract because their concepts are very deep, but they are brutally realistic also. They're brutally practical also. And this chapter, I would prefer tell Priya Chaitanya Prabhu to organize just on Shikshavalli. We can do proper PPT and explain if our people introduce this concept, even 5% in the regular education system, even 10% in the regular education system, even 15% in the regular education system, what to speak of implementing 70-80% of this in the regular education system, then they are so deeply connected to the universal reality. Then you don't have to teach them faith. You don't have to brainwash them. You don't have to bring them to the temple. What will they do? They will look for Adhyatma. They will look for Dharma. They will go deeper because they are continuously experiencing this one. How? If you are teaching based upon the Shikshavalya principle, not my principle, not your principle. Whatever the Upanishad is saying, if you can implement that, you hardly find anybody becoming, disturbed or distracted from the realities of the life. Right? And then what happens? The Upanishad explains when you're learning and growing, the question is raised, people say, if you become educated, you become proud. Then it is not an education. Learning makes you proud, that means you are basically never learned only. And if somebody is saying, high education gives rise to pride, you think all those who are not educated are extremely humble, self-realized souls? Not possible. In fact, the deeper education certainly gives rise to greater modesty and humility. There is no question on intellectual level when you are in your privacy. There is no question of you becoming proud because you realize that universe is vibrating so beautifully. I am simply a recipient of it. I am nobody. One time, the Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's a student, Bhakti Rakshak Shridhar Maharaj, and he came and told him, wow, he spoke so good on this subject. So then Saraswati Thakur asked him, what did I speak? He said, he spoke this one. So he said, really? He said, I don't think I ever spoke this. Then he said, a Gobar Ganesh. I am a Gobar Ganesh. But the energy is flowing. Lord Chaitanya told same thing to Sarvam Bhattacharya. He said, I don't know. He told Sanatan Goswami. He said, I don't know what I spoke. Whatever that Bhattacharya was asking, something was going. I was pagal, he was pagal, something was flowing through us. It was not me. Therefore, as much as you learn more and more deeper things, that much you become broader in your perspective. An evolved spiritualist sees God everywhere. Yumam pashyati sarvatra sarvam cha mahi pashyati. An unevolved fanatic, a loyalist without wisdom, he sees Maya everywhere. He sees loyalty only in his own connection to his Guru. Now, the Ritvik philosophy is nothing but being loyal to the spiritual master, showing greater loyalty to him, but blasting, slandering, criticizing everybody else. They do not have the courage, the psychology, and even the philosophy to see their founder Acharya in others also. Manushya, man, woman can make mistake, but to see them as a mistake is antithesis for theistic philosopher. Prahlad Maharaj, all the Pandavas, everybody, even though they are battling on the Kurukshetra, the understanding in regards to relationship did not get disturbed. Managerially, they were battling, but in regards to relation to creation, relation to each other, there was a beautiful harmony. right? And therefore, what does Taittiriya Upanishad is teaching? The Taittiriya Upanishad saying, when you actually study, then you become conscious of not becoming egoistic. आपके अंदर आत्मविश्वास बढ़ जाता है. You become very confident. Now, confidence and arrogance are two different things. Please understand. Right? Confidence is not synonymous to arrogance. In confidence, there is assertiveness, but all the credit. I remember going to one very amazing scholar, a Vaishnava scholar, and after I told him what some things which I had read in his book, I said, this is what I had read. Very interesting point. And first of all, he became very humble, and then he went inside in his room and he brought few books. He said, now you read this. Because these books I refer to collect my information. Now, because you understand my book, now you go ahead. You read this one. What is that? A teacher is not threatened by the student's knowledge. Rather, the teacher connects the student to the broader aspect of knowledge. He opens up the greater storehouse of knowledge. He has the confidence that the student can go and grow so much. Therefore, it is explained in the Vedas, if you're studying from a spiritual teacher and you studied one Vedas, your Veda is Shukla Yajurveda. After studying Shukla Yajurveda, the teacher who is teaching you, he is satisfied. He is only teaching Shukla Yajurveda, but you develop a desire that I also want to study Samaveda. You come to tell your teacher, I want to study Samaveda. The teacher become excited. His eyes become big. And he recommends the student that you go to this teacher. And when the student come to that teacher to study a Samaveda, what happens? He is reinitiated in Vidya Samskar. The Upanayana Samskar is connected to education only, just before going to Guru's ashram. After studying there, he goes to other teachers because he has developed a desire to study Samaveda. He gives him the reference. He goes there. There is one more Upanayana Samskar. This Upanayana Samskar does not cancel this Upanayana Samskar. This is how the profound understanding of Guru Tattva there amongst the people. And he studied the Samaveda. What happens to him? Does he cancel? There is no question of cancellation. Right? There is no cancellation. Therefore, the whole concept of Shraddha, there is the Shraddha, there is the Vyasa Puja, there is Kritadnyata. What does Shraddha teach us? Shraddha teaches anybody who contributed anything in your life. A tree which is standing in the courtyard of your house, if it had given a shade to you, you have that gratitude if you are conscious of that. During the Shraddha ceremony, during the Pitri Paksha, while offering oblation to your forefathers, you will also offer gratitude to that tree. So, where is the question of becoming arrogant? That means if there is a lack of understanding, there is a lack of knowledge, and think you are knowledgeable, then you become greatly proud. Therefore, the Kena Upanishad explains, beautiful. He said, what is the difference between the teacher and the student? The difference between a teacher and student is that the student knows, the teacher knows that he does not know or she does not know, and the student does not know that he does not know. Once again, the teacher does know, the teacher knows that he does not know, but the student does not know that he does not know. Therefore, the teacher is one step ahead. But even one step ahead, compared to the universe, compared to the vast knowledge, what do they do when they're praying to the absolute truth? When they're praying to different devatas, when they're praying to the creation, Sahana bhavatu, Sahana bhunaktu, Saha viryam karvavahi, Tejasvina madittamastuma vidvishavahi. Both are praying for the same benediction. Both want to become Viryavan because of the education. Both want to consume the knowledge. Both want to contribute in regards to the Lord, in regards to the creation, in regards to the universe. Both are student in regards to universe. The student knows very well, this is my great spiritual teacher. But the spiritual teacher knows, therefore he knows that I do not know. The student does not know that he does not know, and therefore what happens? He focuses completely on his teacher. And the good teacher, what does he do? He connects him to the universe. He connects him to Guru Tattva deeperly. And what does this Taittiriya Upanishad explains? When you develop that humility, you pray for that humility, you pray for Sharanagati, and on the last verse, as the student is concluding his education, going back from the teacher's place to where does he go? He goes back to where he came from. He goes back to continue the parampara of his family. Whether it is Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, Brahmana, whatever it is, have learned so much, added greater knowledge, he goes there. And when he is going, what does the teacher do? And just see that is the difference. One of the greatest differences is once you are a child, is out of your home for learning, what happens? They are connected. They are connected emotionally to you. But the children don't come back to home. The home becomes small space. It becomes land of lack of opportunity. Rather than coming home, we are going far away from home as far as possible. And that is not only disconnecting with the parents. Then the husband is disconnected. He is somewhere else. Wife is somewhere else. Children are somewhere else. Big house. But there is no connectivity. Such a tragedy. Right? But here, the Taittiriya Upanishad what says, because the family is the foundation of everything, after the education is done, the child is coming back. When the child comes back to the family, he is connected to the family. Now his connection to family is beyond biological reality, which was there before he went to his guru's place. Right? He would go around everywhere. I recently attended one Upanayan Samskar. The child would go everywhere. Eat here, eat there, eat the dirt, go and drink milk anywhere. Right? What is that? That is, just भोगाचारी. भोग कर रहा हूं इसकी जानकारी भी बच्चे को नहीं है. मैं दूषित बन रहा हूं, आई एम गेटिंग कंटामिनेटेड, उसका भी उसको जानकारी नहीं. And therefore when that knowledge is given, that is the last day, he takes the remnants of his mother. माँ का झूठा एक बार खाएगा वो, माँ पहले खाएगी बाद में बच्चों को खिलाए. First the child will, mother will feed herself and she will give remnants of her food to the child, and then when the child goes, he learns the art of cleanliness. इसका उसका झूठा नहीं खाएगा, इधर उधर नहीं सोएगा for next so many years. When he comes back, he's an evolved human being. And being an evolved human being, his main focus is to basically connect to his roots and expand his root. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, how does it come? It comes because he or she is connected to their roots. And therefore, in the convocation address, what does he says? He gives explanation to the student. He said, having taught the Vedas, the teacher should instruct the disciple, thus speak the truth, practice righteousness, make no mistake about study of the Vedas. Having offered the preceptor the desired rebel, do not cut off the line of progeny. We should not be inadvertent about the truth. There should be no faltering from dharma. There should not be any inadvertence regarding the performance of auspicious deeds. You should not be indifferent towards activities for wealth. You should not be careless regarding the learning and teaching of the Vedas. And you should not be inadvertent about duties toward the gods and the mains. Be one of for whom the mother is a goddess. Be one for whom the father is God. Let your teacher be a God unto you. Let your guest be God unto you. Matra devo bhava, pitra devo bhava, acharya devo bhava, atiti devo bhava. In this way, the student, when he has learned all this thing in a small place, and the teacher realizes now the child has condition for learning. The child has become conditioned for growing. The child has become conditioned for studying the Vedas. Then the child is sent. Because what happens in the child's vision? Yamam pashyati sarvatra sarvam jamayi pashyati. Wherever he or she goes, they want to learn, they want to grow, they want to contribute. Apna or paraya nahi karta. There are certain sects, their understanding is very clear. What is it? That अपने ही लोगों को मदद करने, अपने जाति के अपने धर्मों को. If you're a Buddhist, you help only Buddhist. If you're a Jain, only Buddha Jain. If you're only Muslim, you are a Muslim. If you're only Christian, you help Christians only. But the Vedas in the Sanatan Dharma, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Right? Certainly, where does it begin? From your family, roots. और वहां से वो बढ़ता जाएगा, बढ़ता जाएगा, बढ़ता जाएगा. And therefore, Gita, Krishna, what does he say? Swadharman loka sangraha. Not केवल मेरे जाति के मेरे लोगों को. Loka means not only people. Loka means basically all the planets. But where does it begin? Begins here. But the purpose is, इसको expand करना है, इसको grow करना है. And therefore, if you remember, in the beginning of the prayer, the teacher had asked for the blessings of Lakshmi Devi for prosperity, the blessings of Lakshmi Devi for fame, the blessings of Lakshmi Devi for power. For what? So that there is a Swadharma and there is a greater Loka Sangraha. Therefore, this Taittiriya Upanishad, is one of the most beautiful chapter in Shikshavalli. And that same Shikshavalli is part of the Taittiriya Upanishad, which gives us the right understanding of what Saraswati represents. She has a veena, the most beautiful instrument. And what does she wear? There is a cloth which is not white. It is color of purity with a golden border. Surya, representation of Surya. The knowledge is pure, knowledge is expansive, and knowledge is contributing. Therefore, real education is not self-centered. The unfortunate reality is, whichever country, whichever civilization, imagine, because money, wealth is important. How much salary? It is not the government. How much salary do we give to some of the most profound educationalists? Kitna dete? They are not our heroes. But how much money we give to the sports people? We are not blaming them. We are blaming ourselves. An actress showing her body makes 50 crore rupees. A guy showing some acting skills charges 4,500 crore rupees. If there is a choice calling for your marriage ceremony, rather than calling a most educated person and giving dakshina, the rich people in India, they choose to call, the reckless, irresponsible, just good actors or actresses and pay them crores of rupees. What can Modi do? What can Gandhi do? What can Yogi do? What can Rahul Gandhi do for that matter? Right? Because we have decided my path of education is to increase my selfishness, my arrogance, my insensitivity, my desensitization. And therefore, all our festival, if you study carefully, the joy, the fun part we have maintained, the festival, the fun part. but the responsible part has been thrown to the dustbin. Alright? We burst crackers, and we should do, because Shastras say, but we are also supposed to lit up the lamp in somebody else's house. We eat sweet to the extent where we become, affected by diabetic and spend more money. But if I can share that sweet to those people who have never experienced what sugar is, what good is, then that will be great. There was a time when there were people who did not know what salt is. They never experienced what salt is. They had rice in the forest. They would grow rice. They had vegetables, everything, but they didn't know what salt is. Right? तो अगर किसी के घर में चावल, दाल, सब्जी, विद्या, इसको consciously हर रोज during Sankranti, people do that. Right? But what happens in Sankranti? Big boxes of sweet go to the wealthy people who have limitless money. You give them. That is a शिष्टाचार. But उसमें से अगर 10% कट करके अगर हम जो भगवान के ही अंश है, right, potential good people, अगर उनको भी देंगे, right, like today I was flying and I remember studying that Shani is connected to all kind of people who are hard working, right? They are cleansing in the restroom. So I make a conscious effort. If I use the bathroom, because they're cleansing, they get salary. But if you give something, what happens? Today I gave something to the person who cleanses there. He had just come cleaning the toilet. And when we handed over something, there was a blessings in his eyes. Right? So therefore, this is a Bhuta Yajna. There is Deva Yajna, there is Pitri Yajna, there is Rishi Yajna, and there is Bhuta Yajna. Just like we do it for the consciously for the wealthy people to connect, to increase our interaction, one-sided growth, but we are not connected to the rest of the society's growth, right? And if the people who are practicing dharma, if they reconnect with the realities of festivity and the Upanishad, then we don't need a socialist movement, because in India there was no socialist movement. The art of charity was not only for the Brahmanas. The art of charity, if you study carefully, was for everybody, depending upon what is your situation, what we are supposed to do. So therefore, Vidya has a self-growth and selflessness towards the society. If this is not happening in Vidya, then certainly it is not Vidya, right? Whether it is IIT, whether it is MIT, whatever, if they're keep inviting so-called the celebrities of this world who charge millions of dollars, and we pay for them. And we complain to the government, oh, उन्होंने अभी डीजल का भाव बढ़ा दिया, उन्होंने इसका भाव बढ़ा दिया. Whether rich or poor, everybody pays for their exuberant money. Therefore, I remember one great philosopher, he explained very nicely, there are two terrorism. Entertainment is not terrorism. Sport is not terrorism. But sport industry is a terrorism, and entertainment industry is terrorism, because they concentrate all the wealth, concentrate all the time, concentrate rather than learning and entertaining myself, doing a small dramas in my own locality. I wait for Patan to come. The success of that movie again shows, right, or any other movie which is not helping me to grow and contribute, is that we are far away from the truth and we are only focusing on the feeling. So the battle of real education, which is spoken in the Upanishad, is a Satya-centric, and the modern education is keval pure unevolved Bhavana-centric. So that is the conflict of Satya and Bhavana, and our Upanishad does not discourage us, does not feel us discouraged. What does it say? That from chaotic condition, asatoma sadgamaya, mrityurma amritam gamaya. right? From chaotic condition, it will come to order. From ignorance, it will come to light. And from death, it will come to limitless Amritatva. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Truly, real education is about integrating so many elements, people in our life, and understanding the narratives, which are the real truths. Sorry, today we had some disturbances. It's just an example of how irresponsible people can be. So we will not take questions in the chat box. You can raise
what we can do, all of us, we can curse them. Learn to curse people who are disturbance to the society. In your heart, everybody together, invoke Rudra Shakti, and for their disturbing nature, disruptive nature, everybody curse them so that they can be enlightened. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Prabhuji, as you said, real education is about becoming responsible, becoming contributing members of society. And so, Prabhuji, how do we implement Siksha Vali in our own ways at home or in our education centers? How do we practice?
Yes, again, first recognize there is something beautiful in our Dharma Shastras. Grateful to the great rishis, what they have given. Right? And even if we can manage 5%, 3%, 2%, because the power of that 2% is so great, it can drown us for the positivity. And what to speak of adding more and more. Therefore, and what is the assurance? Again, those words only. Satya, what is that? It says that the victory will happen. The Satya will be victorious, Dharma will be victorious, and Ruta will be victorious. So therefore, when we understand this, from the chaotic condition we come to light, from the good we'll come to greatness, and from death we reach to immortality. Certainly, our growth and the growth of the society will happen, where we learn, grow, and contribute in the growth of others. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, you also mentioned that when we practice the principles of Siksha Vali, automatically we move towards Dharma, move towards Adhyatmic Jivan. Can you just expand a little bit on it?
Yeah, therefore I said we can do 3-day session on this subject. More technical explanation we can give, because we need PPT for it, because there are certain technicalities. Once you catch the technicalities, you realize, oh, this is not technique, this is actually my sensitivity with my surrounding. How Shabda Brahma has the power to make it Vyavharik, which is we are not doing. Like, unfortunately, I was listening, somebody was saying, like, this so-called educated people, now they want more than a maid servant, ayabai, they want a nanny. So then one devotee Mataji, she was shocked. What is this nanny? They said, no, because our child now, from very beginning, they should learn to speak English only. So therefore, they want an educated maid servant who speaks English to their child. It is so painful. This colonized mindset is so deep, so deep. Imagine, like, they are considering a language which is not their language. You can learn many languages, absolutely not a problem. बहुत सारे भाषाएं सीख सकते हो, लेकिन बचपन से, जन्म से ही आप अपने बच्चों को अपनी मातृभाषा से दूर रखना चाहते हो, and therefore you want a servant who knows how to speak in English from the childhood. Right? That is a very sad thing. If the children interact with all class of people, a poor but nice hearted, speaking in any other language, but caring nicely. There are people who have worked in the families for three generation, taking care of their malik's children so beautifully, and the kids have developed such a beautiful interaction. And now the whole thing is that I want, you know a servant who only speaks English to my children. Wow. you know the Britishers are still there around in the form of colonized mindset slavery.
Thank you very much, Proji. Proji, you spoke about how you know you gave something to the person who was cleaning the washroom. So thinking about people who don't matter too much to us, this kind of a mindset is lacking today in students. So how by learning our mother tongue uh, does one cultivate this kind of culture?
That's what I said. Language, words, shabda, and it is a proven fact. Statistically, you see, the most of the countries would speak their own mother tongue. Of course, they don't have the Rishi Vakya, but still, if they're speaking their own mother tongue, at least they're rooted. And still larger part of India, other than colonized, elite India like Mumbai, Hyderabad, Bangalore, Delhi, all these bigger cities and these international schools, right? They eliminate this concept of your mother tongue. They only focus on taking their children to wealthy people, wealthy places, going to foreign tour rather than going to village, right? Interacting with people. So उनके भाषा में ही प्रॉब्लम होने के कारण उनके संवेदनशीलता कम हो जाती है. And therefore, rather than being grateful for being born in a pious family, they're fighting their parents. You don't love me more than you. All this kind of crap they talk about, where there is limitless. Somebody said depression is the disease of the rich people. Mind depression, which is like growing, is caused by wealth. A poor person doesn't mean that he doesn't go to the mental problem, but he doesn't have the time to deal with it. He fights it with his physical prowess, physical hard labor, physical work, right? He overcomes that because who will not go through depression, but he doesn't play big victim card with it. They move forward. Therefore, as I said, the greater terrorism, after studying carefully, yes, there is a political terrorism. I would never deny that. And we should not deny that. But the greater terrorism is that our own future generation, they're destroying because of self-absorbed, because of the height of selfishness, bound by their own feelings, no commitment to any kind of things, right? So that is very dangerous. So therefore, going back to the Upanishads, going back to the traditional knowledge and using the modern education can give you skills, but the traditional education will give you foundation, it will give you life. जब लाइफ के साथ में स्किल को जोड़ दिया, then you become relevant, at the same time you remain rooted. So the mantra of this talk is that be relevant while being rooted. Thank you. Hare Krishna. We'll stop
Thank
here.
you very much, Prabhuji. That was very enlightening, and how important it is to be rooted in our traditions, to be contributing members of society. Thank you very much, and we meet again next Tuesday at the same time. Hare Krishna.